All right, good evening. Welcome to this video. Today we're going to be discussing the difference between regulations and quality assurance. That is, what is the difference between regulations and quality assurance? Again, we are taking these questions, we are basing these videos on questions that we've been asked over the period of time that I've been in business. And so one of the questions that we've had several of our customers ask us over the years is, hey, what's the difference between the set of regulations and the quality compliance or quality assurance principles? And so today I want to briefly address those differences. And so let's get into it. But again, before we do, please make sure that you like and subscribe. And if you have a comment, I'll definitely be glad to address some of your comments or questions in our upcoming videos. So let's get into it. What's the difference between regulation and quality assurance? One of the ways I can explain that is to deal with the dietary supplements industry, of which I'm very familiar. Again, for those of you that may not know, I'm the owner of DS Nutra Consulting, from which this video is made, and also I'm the president of Colmeric Analyticals, a laboratory testing company. And so we've had a lot of experience dealing with both the quality control issues and the compliance issues that may arise where customers would have questions regarding these issues. And so I would like to answer the question of what's the difference between regulations and quality assurance or compliance within the framework of as it applies to dietary supplements. And again, that could be applicable to any industry. I'm just going to stick to what I know best. So when we think of regulations in general, we're talking about rules that have been established by a governmental or regulatory body to control or govern the conduct or your conduct. All right, so it's the rules established by a government or regulatory body to control or govern conduct. And so sometimes, at least in our industry, it's referred to as the Code of Federal Regulations or CFRs. So the regulation really then is just a set of rules or the policies that is established that tells you what you should do. So when I think of regulation, I always think of what should you do to meet the requirements of this regulation. So think of regulation of what is it you need to do to meet the requirements. And so this is different than quality assurance or quality compliance, which really comes down to how you should behave, for lack of a better term there. So regulation tells me what I should do, and quality tells me how I should do it. Quality assurance or quality compliance now becomes how you should do what you need to do. So let's go back to this same section. So if I'm going to employ someone in any part of the supply chain, in the manufacture or holding or labeling or packaging or testing of dietary supplement, that person should be and needs to be qualified. Now the quality assurance comes in because, again, remember, for quality assurance, we need to have a systematic process focused on ensuring that products or services meet specified standards. So our quality assurance now is going to outline and tell us how we should hire, how we should define what are qualified employees. So the regulation tells you that you should have qualified employees, but the quality assurance process tells you how you should select those employees. And that normally goes to you, whether you're manager, you're the person in charge, you're the owner, whoever it is that's in charge of that process needs to define what the qualifications are. So for instance, if you decide that you want to hire someone in your manufacturing process, you want to hire a technician for whatever reason in whatever area, the only requirements from the regulation is that that person must be qualified. The regulation does not stipulate what the qualification should consist of. It just tells you that they need to be qualified. Now, you as the hiring entity needs to define what those requirements are for a qualified candidate. Now, so in our case, if I'm going to hire someone in my laboratory at Colmeric Analyticals, or if I'm going to hire someone in a consulting capacity at DS Nutra Consulting, I need to stipulate what those qualifications are needed to work within the industry. And so if let's go back to a laboratory setting. If I'm going to hire someone as a quality control scientist, well, that person needs to be qualified to perform the job of a quality control scientist. And so I may have qualification set up that says that this person needs to have a bachelor's degree, or this person needs to have a minimum of an associate degree, or this person also needs to have 1 or 2 years of experience in a particular area of quality control. But I need to set forth what the qualification for that person or individual should be to work in an analytical lab. Now, if that person is working on the production line of your manufacturing operation, again, you may have a position that requires a technician on your production line. Then you need to have qualification for that person who is on your production line. All right, so the requirements or the regulation demands that you must hire someone either through education or training that is qualified to operate your production line or whatever the specific task is on your production line. So now it's incumbent upon you, the employer, to make sure that you are hiring somebody with the appropriate education. And so now you may decide that I need someone who at the minimum would have completed high school or have a high school degree. That is your educational requirement. Now, further, you may say, well, I need someone who have done this before. They may need to have 1 year of experience in this particular instrument or equipment. That becomes part of your qualifying process. That becomes part of your quality assurance process. That employee's education, that employee's experience becomes part of your qualifying or your quality assurance process. So again, the regulation does not tell you specifically what that qualification or experience or education should look like. It just tells you that you need to hire someone in that capacity. The quality assurance program that you have need to stipulate those qualification in some level of detail. So now when you hire someone, let's say you have a position that does not require a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree or a master's degree, simply just requires a high school diploma. But then when that person comes on board, you're going to train that person. And so through your internal training, that person now becomes qualified to perform a test, or that person becomes qualified to operate a piece of equipment. That also becomes part of your quality program, because you're stipulating what that training should look like before that person begins to operate. that piece of machinery. So your standards, your quality assurance is part of how you perform, how you set up your system. The regulation tells you you need to set it up, right? Your quality assurance tells you how you should set it up. And so it's up to you, it's incumbent upon you, the employer, to determine how you initiate and execute that program. And so in my experience, almost all employers in the manufacturing or laboratory space within the dietary supplements industry, they all would adhere to those requirements of hiring personnel that are qualified. But then for each company would determine what level of experience, what level of training, what level of education is necessary for them to carry out or meet those requirements as part of their quality program. Now, the thing with your quality program is that everything needs to be documented. So if you're going to set up a hiring process that says that you need to have at minimum a high school diploma and to meet your initial requirements, then when you hire that person needs to have a high school diploma. Now, the other part of it is then you can say that training would be provided in this specific area. Then you need to train that person, document the training process, and have that as part of the qualification, and that training becomes part of that employee's file, so that if you're ever audited, you can pull the training records and show, yes, this person graduated from high school, yes, this person went through our training program. Whatever it is, however simple it is, or however extensive it is, you need to have that documented to show that the training was done and that the training was adequate for the job function. All right, so I hope that this video so far has explained the difference between regulations and quality assurance. And again, we can go through and use many different examples, but I wanted to use at least something that everyone is familiar with, which is the hiring process, the qualification process. But regulations and quality assurance go hand in hand. The regulation, again, in summary, tells us what it is I must do. And so you're normally going to find a lot of regulations are written that says you must do this. And your quality assurance program then is the program that you, the entity, comes up with your set of documents or documentation to demonstrate, or your evidence to show that based on the regulation, here is how we interpret the regulation to meet what we're doing. And these are the documentations that we have in support of our program, showing that we are meeting the regulatory standards. All right. So once again, I hope this was beneficial to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And again, if you're looking for some consulting in the areas of dietary supplement regulation and compliance, again, put it in the comment page or shoot us an email at cthomas@dsnutra.com. I'll be happy to answer your questions. And if you want some one-on-one consulting, I'll be happy to get on the phone with you, and we can offer one-on-one coaching or consulting as you get going in your dietary supplement business or your pharmaceutical business. And again, you may just require some basic guidance. I'll be more than happy to be that support staff and that support person that you're looking for to help guide you in setting up that business and making sure that you are operating in a compliant manner. All right, have a great day. Thank you for viewing this video.